Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar, Revit and Building Design Suite 2016. This webinar is brought to you by Live Lab Learning, which is a subsidiary of Academic Corp, a wholly owned applied software company created to provide world-class training. This is Mark Mincy and I'm delighted to be your moderator today. Today we will be highlighting some of the new features in Revit 2016 and the Building Design Suite 2016. Throughout our presentation, we encourage you to interact with us by typing questions and comments in the questions pane. We will be answering questions at the end of the presentation. This webinar is being recorded and will be available to you online on our YouTube channel. If you haven't already, search Live Lab Learning on Facebook and like our page to receive the latest information and special offers. When you visit our website, livelablearning.com, there is a complete schedule of upcoming training. Applied Software is a platinum level Autodesk reseller, which has won many Autodesk awards for excellence. The platinum level is the highest level Autodesk reseller and is achieved by demonstrating the ability to deliver the highest level of solution expertise, service, support, and customer satisfaction. Applied Software also provides other solutions to the architectural, engineering, construction, manufacturing, and simulation markets. Please take note of our upcoming events. Another event we have very good success with across our territory is BIM and Beer here in Texas on September 9th in Houston. And Applied Software is exhibiting at the DBIA Florida Region's 10th Annual Conference October 8th and 9th in Orlando, Florida. If these are not in your part of the country, continue to keep a lookout as we plan on hosting events all across the country. Also, take note of our upcoming webinars. We have one, Get Connected, learn how to leverage the benefits of Applied Software in Autodesk, September 1st. The benefits of desktop subscription, September 22nd. And again, Civil 3D and Infrastructure Design Suite 2016, which is similar to today's presentation, on September 17th. And I would be remiss if I did not mention we are offering several great promotions on Autodesk software. There are rebates of up to $1,250 on new software licenses. Autodesk is changing how they sell licenses. Make sure you get your perpetual licenses before they are gone. If there are any questions on the promotions or the Autodesk license change, please reach out to me again, Mark Mincy. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce our presenter. He is a senior AEC technical consultant, and it has been a joy to have Rick work with me on numerous projects with our satisfied customers. He has several decades of experience working as an architect and Revit instructor. One of the exciting projects Rick has been working on as of late is the BIM execution plan for the University of Central Florida. Today, he will leverage his own experience using Revit to share with you how you too can leverage the tools and new features in Revit Building Design Suite 2016. Please join me in welcoming today's speaker, Rick Kramer.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that. And I'm Rick Kramer, and starting soon we'll be kicking off the Just Ask Rick, which look for your emails for more information on that. Thank you again for joining us today on today's seminar. I'm going to briefly go over the Building Design Suite 2016 as well as my new favorite features in Revit 2016. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. And by the way, folks, I highly recommend if you have any questions whatsoever about, again, any of the promotions or anything that I might demonstrate during this seminar, please feel free to put it in the chat window. At the end of the seminar, I'll be going through and answering as many of those questions as possible. So with that, I'll get started. Today's Autodesk vision is to help people imagine, design, and create a better world. As you see here, some buildings created in Revit and also some ideas of futuristic buildings, as you see in the top right-hand corner. Each one of these are created using all of the Building Design Suite through Autodesk. And what drives this is data. As you'll notice, as you start to emerge and go from a different type of data set of drawing lines, arcs, and circles, the digital or data-driven design, such as seen here, is basically the root of having everything come through faster with fewer conflicts and a quicker delivery, ultimately making BIM a smart solution. You're going to see the focus of today's seminar is really going to be all about BIM. And what is the building industry environment currently? What I'd like to focus on is these last three sections here. Yes, urbanization is growing and our natural resources are depleting, but more importantly, well, maybe not more importantly, but the three that I'd like to focus on are these last three. Our increased competition. The complexity of our projects have grown incredibly bigger and more complex, and the technology is changing almost on a monthly basis. So with that, projects are more complex, our companies are faced higher expectations, and the industry must respond to change by capitalizing on technology. And this is where BIM comes in. If you're not doing this already, your projects basically have the ability to be better coordinating using building information modeling. That's going away from AutoCAD and using technologies such as Revit and Navisworks. The building information technology utilizes all three or more ingredients. For example, the planning, the managing, the building, and the design of projects. All of them are concentric to building an environment where everyone is coordinated and simulated in an environment where you're able to build quicker and more easily. The technology trends that we're starting to see here, as you see in the top left, are using conceptual design, using different methods than before instead of paper and pen, then having them be into connected designs, and then real simulations. And then distributed projects throughout the world are putting together all these projects for ultimately fabrication or even prefabrication as seen here. So those panels that you're seeing being hosted into the site there are all manufactured off-site and tested, all generated back from the conceptual design. Early on in 2009, a report from McGraw-Hill indicated the amount of architects, engineers, and contractors currently using BIM. And they were almost at 50%, and architects were using them up at 58%. Now in 2012, which is already a couple years old, the surge has increased 50% in contractors, 60% in engineers, and 20% in architects. And my feeling is that the architects like myself out there are increasingly using BIM technology, specifically Revit, because not only is it more efficient and easier to use, it also is being required on a lot of federal buildings. Having said that, the global BIM adoption trends, as you see here in the US, is grown 45% in the last 3 years. So with this industry change, it's only going to go bigger and bigger. You'll see here the BIM standards here in the United States are GSA and U.S. Army BIM, which mandates that Revit be used. Government-led BIM initiatives here in America, as again listed on the left-hand side, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, U.S. Veteran Affairs, and the list goes on and on. The ones that are listed below, these state universities, are all starting to become one part of a BIM solution. And how's this done? This is done through utilizing the Design Suite 2016. Now what you'll see here is that you have different flavors, as I call it. You have Premium, Standard, and Ultimate. Each one of these packages ultimately come with different sets of solutions or software. The Standard Suite, the Premium, and Ultimate. The Standard Suite basically are those for Basically designers, people who are not within the industry, not architects, and live, let's say, within just the AutoCAD world. Next, you have the Premium Suite, and the Premium Suite includes Revit, Navisworks Simulate, and 3D Studio Max 2016. The Ultimate, which is really for general contractors as well as architects, maybe design build as well, is it includes also Inventor and Navisworks Manage and Robot Structural Analysis. So at a minimum, you'll see the area highlighted in blue. This is really in my opinion, what defines the BIM technology from the Premium Suite to the Standard Suite. In a Standard Suite, you're still really just drawing lines, arcs, and circles, unless you're using, let's say, AutoCAD architecture, but the industry standard is utilizing Revit. And hopefully those folks on the call are actually starting to use that. What does architects, MEP, engineers use in construction? In architecture, we use AutoCAD architecture, Showcase, Revit, 3D Studio Max, Navisworks, and Recap. And actually, later on, I'm going to show you a little example of Recap, which few people ever use, but it's absolutely fabulous. It's something that really, really makes presentations and conceptual designs and designs really come alive. MEP engineers, for those engineers on the call, have the ability to use AutoCAD MEP, Revit, and Navisworks. Structural engineers would use Revit, Navisworks, and Robot, and those analysis professionals. Lastly, the construction professionals, which really would use almost all the above. They primarily would use AutoCAD, Revit, and Navisworks. Now, what can we do to do a comprehensive portfolio to help you design, produce, simulate, create, and make more informed decisions? Well, that begins at the root of using something similar or just as using AutoCAD. AutoCAD is basically used every single day, and a lot of times as an architect, also as a trainer and instructor, I'm constantly asked, Rick, do you think AutoCAD will ever disappear? And I say no. It is a foundation to Autodesk software as well as being used in every firm. So one of the things that I believe in is using AutoCAD in hybrid motion, basically to work with Revit. Having said that, really the next step is taking it and using Revit. All of these are the softwares that are included in the Building Design Suite. You'll see some of the new features, which I'll go over later on, are redraw, working with PDFs, manufacturing, and better link across platforms. What I'd like to talk to you about next is called Reality Capture. This software is included even in the standard design process, in the standard package. And basically the way this works, and we'll show you a quick little video, is that it enables you to take pictures of a building using a regular digital camera and basically using Autodesk servers to recreate that environment. In this next little video, kick back, relax, and watch. I think you'll enjoy what Recap does. I don't know about you all, but that makes me want to run out and get a GoPro and one of those quadcopters. This recap is something that few people use, and it really, really is an amazing piece of software technology. And granted, this is shot with or used in AutoCAD, or I'm sorry, Revit 2014. Revit 2016 makes it even easier using recap technology. It's absolutely mind-blowing. Next is another application called 3D Studio Max 2016, which I'm sure if you're familiar with any animation or any movies, 3D Studio Max is involved in. The design suite includes BIM coordination, the ability to do regular sheet printing, 3D party integration, and do such things as even adjust line thicknesses in Revit, which a few people know you can do. Now, to talk about subscription real quickly, over here, if you'd like, reach out to Mark or your other or salesperson, and Mark can explain to you the differences between maintenance subscription, desktop subscription, and cloud service subscription. All of these are right now at your fingertips, and it is crucial right now to get that perpetual license. If you have questions about the difference between perpetual license and desktop subscription, reach out to Mark Mincy for clarification on this. And basically the difference between all of these is there's a lower cost entry, pay for when you use it, and this is with desktop subscription. And one of the advantages of desktop subscription is basically you can ramp it up or down as your project needs. Again, as a recap, you have the different subscriptions over here between Autodesk from Standard, Premium, and Ultimate. And if there's any questions, go ahead and feel free to put them in. Revit 2016. What's new in Revit 2016? Basically on the left-hand side, and I'm going to narrow this down so hopefully we have enough time to go through and demonstrate some of these. For those architects on the call over here, in Revit we have the ability to redraw quickly, and that's a big improvement. There's been typically a lot of improvements between the platforms, but the internal mechanisms of Revit have basically, they've done some really huge overhauls on the CPU utilization inside Revit. So there's Project North, Open Sheet Views, all of these here, which I'll go through hopefully at the end. Over here we have Revit. One of the disciplines, multidisciplinary enhancement in Revit is again project navigation. What this does, it gives you the ability to pan, zoom, and rotate in orbit, and what this does, it utilizes your graphic card on your computer. So the better graphic card you have, the better your ability to pan and rotate. In this short little video over here, I'm going to show you how using pan and rotate is done in 2016.
Navigation during redraw enables you to navigate the model smoothly and continuously, panning, zooming, and orbiting around the view without waiting for the software to finish drawing elements at each step. To improve performance when navigating a view, use this new option to interrupt the display of model elements as you move through the model. This option is enabled by default. Navigation during redraw, improving your workflow.
And it might be a minor tweak, but it really, really is for working in larger files, the ability to redraw and rotate around a building. Next is Rotate Project North, a minor little thing, but still a little bit more of an improvement. When those people, if you've rotated your project north on projects, you'll notice that your data, anything that's not physical, doesn't rotate. One of the things that they've approved on in Revit is any object in your project, including dimensions, annotation, detail lines, will rotate when you rotate to Project North. Next is Open Sheet View. This by far is one of the nicest features, one of my favorite features, that you can find referring views, and I'm going to demonstrate this in just a little bit. Next is revision enhancements. Of course, we have revisions in our projects, and now you have the ability to create numbering sequences that are also alphanumerical. In other words, instead of revision 1, 2, and 3, you could have 1A or 1, then 1A, 1B, then 2, 2A, and so on and so forth. Or you could have alphanumeric A, B, C. Okay, makes it even easier to control your revisions, and we'll go through that, and I'll do a demonstration of that. Next is using the selection boxes in 3D. This by far is one of the coolest little things that gives you the ability to really analyze spaces in your Revit model in 3D, and I'll demonstrate that shortly. Next is an enhanced rendering engine. NVIDIA Mental Ray and Ray Tracer is now included in Revit. So if you don't want to render to the cloud, you can actually do photorealistic renderings right from your own desktop. Now keep in mind, when you're doing renderings on Revit using either one of these two rendering engines, it ties up your Revit, so you're not able to kind of continue to work. One of the things that I highly recommend looking into is the option to render in the cloud. When you render in the cloud, it collects all the information from Revit and pushes it up to the cloud, and you're able to continue to work. You can even shut down your computer and you'll get notified via email when the rendering is done. Next is floor scheduling and annotation enhancements. One of the things that they've done is included floor slabs to give you the ability to put in automatic parameters for the top of core and bottom of core or floor slabs. So this is something that can be schedulable. Next is IFC. Many IFC elements now can be used to define room elements. I'll do a little video demonstrating that.
We recognize that not everyone creates models in an Autodesk design application, so it's also important to support third-party software to help our users collaborate and review the entire project. With IFC links and rooms, when creating rooms in the host model, you can use many IFC-based elements to define room boundaries. Now, when you link an IFC file to the Revit project, you can add rooms using the IFC model elements. IFC links and rooms, better integration for better documentation.
Energy analysis for Revit included in Revit gives you the ability to do energy analysis right from your Revit model. One of the nice things about this is that you can create these analytical models right from conceptual design all the way through and continually improve your energy analysis working on this project. And you no longer need to export to GBXML. It'll create 3D views and 3D energy analysis right there with your Revit model. Next is Autodesk 360 Collaboration for Revit. Basically what this does, it gives you the ability to, if you're working on a project with another design team, let's say you're in New York and you have another company in Boston and another one in LA, all three companies can use A360 to collaborate on a project. And basically what this does, it's really, really incredible technology. You basically store this similar to Dropbox on your own computer, but it's stored on the cloud, and everyone that's part of your Revit Auto 360 collaboration team can have access to this model in live time. So you don't even need a server because the project is located on the server on the cloud. This gives you the ability to mark up, control, and review drawings from anywhere, and you're not tied to a server like you would normally. Next, I really want to talk to you about Project Stingray. Some of these are in beta, and I think you'll find that these are quite exciting. These are things that are still in beta, but what I wanted to do is give you all a sense of not only what's currently here, but what's upcoming.
Real-time engines are the next step in the evolution of how we design, giving us all the ability to truly understand our designs before anything is built. Meet Stingray. Stingray is Autodesk's tool for the next step in the visualization process. It links directly to 3ds Max and expands what's possible, what can be seen, and what can be explored. In the Revit to 3ds Max ecosystem, Stingray is the next destination for your BIM data, helping to guarantee accuracy and validate ideas. LiveLink is the mechanism that connects Stingray and 3ds Max. When you add something to 3ds Max, it's reflected in Stingray and is immediately available to explore. Stingray is both approachable to use and scalable. Quick environments are easy to create, but can be greatly expanded into truly user-driven experiences. The Stingray engine is the next step in the connected world of design visualization.
By the way, folks, these previews that we're showing you are available to everyone, some of which are in beta, and Stingray, I believe, is currently out of beta, and actually, I believe it is available for a few dollars a day for the whole year, where you have the ability to create these real, rich, photorealistic environments. Next, what I'd like to demonstrate to you is real-time rendering. Now, Revit is going towards creating these real-time rendering engines, and basically what this is called Project Expo. Now bear with me just for a moment. I'm going to minimize this and show you this as a live demo. So let me just come right over here and show you how this works. In Project Expo, you have the ability to upload your model to the cloud. And in just a moment over here, we'll see this project that I've created. And this is live, by the way, hooking up to the cloud. So I've taken my Revit model, I'm pushing it up to the cloud and using its render engines to basically go through and create this live view of my model. Here it is. So as you see here, you have this realistic environment where you can actually pan through, zoom in, and walk around. One of the beautiful things about this is its render environment is live. So for example, I'm going to come over here in the bottom left-hand corner and change, for example, the day and time of where this is placed. So for example, at 12 noon, that's where my shadows would be. And at 5 o'clock in the morning or 6 o'clock in the morning, that's where my shadows are. So I can do real-time analysis of a building, not only for presentations, but to understand where my shadows are. The project information, where it's pulling it from and landing it on Earth, is basically derived from the project information. You also have the ability to do walkthroughs. Now, I don't want to get anyone motion sickness, so I'm not going to do the walkthroughs, but you also have the ability to do walkthroughs. What's a really nice feature about this, it'll automatically open up the doors as you're approaching a hallway. So instead of running into a door, it actually opens the door. It's kind of a neat little thing. So I hope you enjoy that. This is called Project Expo. Next is called Project Sunrise. This is also kind of giving you a preview of what's out there. Now, Project Sunrise is basically Revit's first start with using something called a Citrix-based technology, which basically means they're moving towards an environment where you can run Revit on any platform, whether it be Linux, Windows, Mac, or other. As long as you have an internet connection, as you see on the left-hand side, I would sign in, and then Revit would start. Basically, this gives you the ability to work in the cloud on Revit and have all your files be located on the server, or you can work on them locally. Again, this is in beta, but just wanted to give you an idea of kind of what's right around the corner. Now, let's get down to the nitty-gritty. Over here, we have my top 9 features, and these are the following: add rooms to all spaces, find referring views, the revision flexibility, 3D section from selected or windowed items, the ability to change the background color finally in Revit 2016 is something that you can do. Saved views, and I'm going to go through all of these. Narrow selection by typing the first few letters, show constraints, and then one of my other features that I like to demonstrate is displaced elements. This was first brought on in Revit 2015, but a lot of people don't know about it. So I'm going to try to do a quick hands-on demonstration. I hope you all enjoy what you've seen so far, and now we're going to get into the meat of actually using Revit and looking at these top 9 features. So with that, let me go ahead and close this and open up Revit 2016. And here we are. So here's Revit 2016. Looks similar to other previous versions, but with these enhancements. I'm going to go over here and first start off by going through and opening up an existing file. I'm going to jump around a little bit. I'm actually going to come back to the number 1 thing first. And the second thing here I'd like to talk about actually is called finding referred views. If you're like me and you've worked on a project which has lots and lots of views, as you see here, it's sometimes troublesome how to find what views are placed on what sheets. What you can do now, which you weren't able to before, is basically if you click on a drawing, for example this working ground floor plan over here, and right-click. If Open Sheet is grayed out, that means that this particular drawing has not been placed on a sheet. If I select ground floor over here on this other one, right-click on that, and Open Sheet is highlightable, that means it's been placed on a drawing sheet. To find out what sheet it goes to, simply click on it, and it'll basically go right to that sheet. This is really, really helpful, again, when working on a large set of drawings. And it opens up the sheet, and there's my sheet. Now, conversely, if I wanted to go to one of my sheets over here, for example, I'm going to go to A302, to my elevations, and if I wanted to find what views are listed there, in the past I had to go through here and say, oh, elevation east, remember what it was, and then go to it. Now I can simply just double click on it, and it'll open up that view, and I can find the view, and it's highlighted back in here. So this gives you the ability to go back and forth quite easily. Now, one of the things that I'd like to go through and demonstrate for you is now how to add some of these new features to a brand new blank drawing. So what I'm going to do in this demonstration is basically start with a blank drawing and show you how we can add rooms to all the spaces, the revision flexibility, and the ability to change colors. Then I'm going to go back to my other model and show you the other things. So simply what I'm going to do is just draw a wall and basically do a quick little floor plan. And here's our fancy dancy floor plan, and I'm going to come through and make a bunch of spaces. Okay. And just add a couple doors just so you see that this is again working in floor plan view. Now in the past, if I wanted to go through and add rooms to each one of these, I had to go through one at a time. One of the things that is a new improvement is the ability to add rooms. So I'll come over here and click on rooms. And before I used to place one at a time. Now simply by clicking and place rooms twice, click on that, it automatically creates, as you see, all the rooms. Now this saves so much time. So that is one of my favorite top 3 features. Second is referring views, as I mentioned before, by clicking on something. And for example, over here, we'll create a new sheet. place this here. Now granted, this one only has one drawing in it, but if I were to come back over here and click on level 1, right click, I can open that sheet and it takes me right to that sheet. Now, let's talk about revision flexibility. Since I know projects go through revisions, one of the things that's been limiting before in previous versions was the ability to have flexibility in your revision schedule. So what I'm first going to do is create some revisions. So I'm going to go to the Views tab, go to Revisions, and over here I'll start by creating my first revision. And let's say that revision happened back in May 1st, 2015, and the description was added rooms. And click Apply. Okay. Now, if I added a new one, the number would be number 2. If I come over here and change it to an alphanumeric, and change alphanumeric over here, I have the ability, this gives me the alphanumerical information of how this is going to be organized. What I can do is simply come up front over here and type in 1A, so that becomes before the letter A. Click OK, and now this one will have that 1A when I start to create it. So over here, let's say I just call this August 31st, 2015, and deleted something, and click Apply. Now, when we go through and create our revisions, I'm going to come over here, simply add my revisions, and here's revision 1. Add revision 2, which is really now 1A. And when I go through and tag it, here's 1 and 1A. That information, when I pull it into the sheet, is automatically tagged and filled out right here. So in the past, you weren't able to do the numerical and alphanumerical. It was just limited to the numbers. So over here, this is kind of a neat new little feature. Now, the next thing that I'd like to show you is how to change the background color. From day one, when I started teaching Revit, for people working in a AutoCAD environment, they said, oh, we really want a black background or some other color. You couldn't do that. Now, simply by going to the Applications button, going to Options, Graphics, I can change my background to any color I want. So let's say I wanted to go through here and created the old-fashioned trace paper background. Click OK, and now I have a trace background. Might be a little bit harsh on the eyes, but you get the idea. And here, then I can create my environment and start to draw and basically not have the white background as so dominant. It might be a little bit easier. Okay. Next, let me jump over here back to my project. One of the things that's a real nice enhancement is, let's say for argument's sake, I wanted to come over here and better understand what this area looks like in 3D. I can simply come over here and basically window, oops, hold on. Window around an item. Sorry folks, I'm actually selecting something. Or click on it. If I click on it over here, I can come over here and create a 3D view, a section box with just that highlighted. So you'll notice I highlighted just the stair, and what it does, it creates a live section box for me to manipulate. Again, I can then further expand this to include, for example, the second floor and realize, oh, wait a minute, I don't have an opening in my slab. So this gives you the ability to work in 3D quickly and easily by creating a selection set and then creating a 3D view. From here, I simply can right-click and save this view as a new 3D view for my stair number 2. Okay, and it adds it within my 3D views. Next is a small but minor feature. It's called saved views. In other words, if I come over here and, for example, I have this drawing open and I've zoomed in on this area right here, if I close the file and open it, it's going to go back to its last saved view. In previous versions, it basically forgot what your zoomed area was, and it did a zoom extents. So this is kind of a new feature. Now, another feature that is in Revit, I'll come back over here to my sample project, is if I wanted to start to create a new wall, for example, I only have to start typing in the first few letters. So for example, over here, if I didn't have to go through all of the list, I can simply click in the search bar, type in the first few letters, INT for interior, and it limits just those objects that have INT in it. You can do this now for everything, including line styles. So it gives you the ability to really focus and limit down your selection of what it is that you want. And that's the narrowing. Last but not least, over here, one of the things that we seldomly or usually do is I'll come through here and, for example, constrain this. So I'll click on that and constrain it, which means this can't be moved. If I were to make a duplicate of this, of course that disappears, and I might want to try to move something over here and not realize that it's constrained. Well, now over here at the very bottom, you have Reveal Constraints. What this does, it shows you what exactly is constrained with a dimension string. And you'll see over here in the top left it says Reveal Constraints. Again, this is a new feature, a minor feature, but still a nice feature in Revit. Next, one of the things that I'd like to show you is the ability to do something that was introduced in Revit 2015, and that's displaced elements. I'm simply going to go to a 3D view over here, and for those of you who have never seen this before, it's really quite nice. Typically what I'll do over here is I'll create a new 3D view. Okay, and I'll rename it to Exploded Axo. And if you ever opened up any of those architecture magazines and see how things are put together like in IKEA, this is kind of just like that. What I'll do is I'll select the object that I want to explode per se, or displace, and I'll come over here and select Displace Elements. What this does, it gives me the ability to then take this object and move it up or over. By clicking on it, I also can then simply create paths and automatically have these lines drawn. Next, I can come over here and select another object and displace that as well, and click on Path. Now the beauty of this is that I have the ability to create a presentation drawing without affecting the construction drawings themselves. So if I come back to a 3D view, everything's back the way it was. That 3D view that we were just looking at is basically just a perspective view that I could create and include such things as even shadows. So as you can see, you really have the ability to take this and really make some interesting presentation views. So with that, that's really I have left for today. There's a lot more neat features that are within Revit, but those are my favorite 9. So what I'd like to do now is thank everyone for attending today's seminar, and we'll leave the last 10 minutes for any questions. So Mark, are there any questions?
So again, I encourage you, first of all, Rick, thank you very much for your presentation, quite informative as far as the new stuff going on and some of the new exciting stuff coming out. So I want to encourage all of the participants, if you have any questions, can please type those questions into the question pane, and then we will answer those questions. So I have a question here. So again, Rick, which of these features do you think could be the most helpful as far as instituting into our workflow?
Well, that's a really good question. I'd have to know your workflow, but I mean, really, the one that I really like the most is adding rooms to all spaces. Changing that really gives you the ability, after you place all of your walls, it quickly gives you the ability to place those in just one click. That saves you a lot of time. Now, having said that, it basically goes through and randomly places the numbering. So you don't have the ability to then say 100, then 101. You basically can start with a numbering system, but you usually have to go back and renumber them in the sequence that you'd like. The other favorite of mine, again, is this displaced elements. This by far is one of the neatest things to do for design presentations.
Thank you very much. Mike has a question. Can you issue a revision 0? Can you issue a revision 0?
Yes, absolutely. Let me go back and do that. Thank you for that question. That's actually one of those features that is right over here. So we have revision 1. I'm going to come back over here and just to kind of show the magic. It starts with revision 1. I'm going to come over here to the View tab, go to Revisions, go to Numeric, and start the sequencing over here. Instead of at 1, start it at 0. And click OK, OK, and now it starts at 0. And there's nothing I needed to do. So the very, very first revision can be revision 0. Again, that's a new feature in Revit 2016. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Franklin has a question about recap. I'm going to read this question, but I'm trying to understand it. In recap specifically, point cloud projects from scanners, is cloud-based operability available online to clients without recap?
Wow, that is a really good question. I do not have an answer for you on that. If you'd like to send an email to Mark Mincy, and we can send that in the chat window. And if you want, send your email, and I'll have to get back to you on that. As far as I know, you have to have recap to utilize the 3D point cloud, but the 3D point cloud technology is getting better and better. You can shoot pictures with any camera. It doesn't even have to be an expensive camera, and the more pictures the better. And you walk around a site or an object, and it's really amazing technology. And just as you saw in the preview, incorporating that into Revit is really the way to go. One thing off the top of my head might be is if you incorporate your recap project into Revit, you can export that out in different formats where you could give the user the ability to use a free Revit viewer. So you could actually see that recap project within the Revit technology. Hopefully that answers your question.
If not, Franklin, again, you can contact me. My email address is mmincy@asti.com. We did have a question earlier as far as will this video be posted online for later viewing? And again, yes, it will be. You will receive an email after this presentation with the link to watch the video or to pass on to others. And again, if there's any other questions, right now we don't see any other questions. If you do have one, feel free to type in real quickly any questions or comments that you have. Glad to approach those. We'll give it about 10 seconds, and then if we don't see something, we will end this presentation. I like the white better than the yellow. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, you know, it's funny. It's such a small little advancement, but basically, you know, for those listening still on the phone call, if we haven't gotten any questions yet, Autodesk listens on their chat boxes, their chat forums, on their forums. If there's a wish list item, that's where you want to post it, because that's where they're looking for feedback from the community. So if you want to have the ability to do X, Y, Z, put it out there. Autodesk is listening on those Autodesk forums.
Okay, thank you very much. Since we didn't receive any other questions, we're going to be ending this presentation. So again, wanted to thank you. Thanks for joining us today. We hope you found this webinar informative and a help to your business. We look forward to you joining in our next webinar. Have a great day.
Thanks, everyone. Take care now.